If you told me a few years ago that a show about building the perfect striker for the Japanese national team would captivate me as much as BLUELOCK did, I would have probably laughed in your face and left. But yet, here we are, with BLUELOCK giving me some of my favorite fictional characters ever. I just love the wars they are waging and the lessons they teach us. And what's funny, for a show about building the perfect striker, BLUELOCK is presenting us with many strikers, each with different styles. Almost every main striker in the show has his own style that is different from other players. And of course that means that each striker presents a different set of weapons that he uses to achieve the one ultimate goal of scoring. And so the question that poses itself, what are the perfect coherent set of skills that if put together results in the most dominant striker? And that's what we will be answering today, as we will build the perfect striker in BLUELOCK. Now, as I stated before, there are many different styles, however the show seems to be focusing on just two. In fact, just one, the Metavision/Perfect Positioning style that we are seeing from Rin, Kaiser, Isigi and Shido, with Baro and Noah being the only exception that presents somewhat of a different style that rivals this one. And so, to avoid being all over the place, we will keep these two styles in mind when building the perfect striker. As I believe the writer is telling us that these two styles are the dominant ones, and the perfect striker will most likely emerge from one of these two styles. And honestly, I'm leaning towards the Metavision/Perfect Positioning one. And the only reason I'm even considering Baro's style is because of Noah. However, the playing style in general is not the only criteria of which we will build our perfect striker. In fact, I have few in addition to the playing style. Physicality, mentality, ego, field IQ, vision, shooting, the overall seriousness, and the set of skills. But before we start with building the perfect striker, let's lay some rules. Obviously, when choosing the point, we need them to be coherent. For example, we can't take Chigiri's speed in physicality while choosing the Kaiser impact in shooting, because both dictate a special but different muscle formation for the leg, and so they can't really work together. For this, we need the criteria to be coherent with each other. Next, I'm actually gonna exclude the pros. In the comments I've seen on the post I made, many of you guys ignored the pros, which I found to be really interesting, as to be honest, if we include them, it's gonna become a lazy list, as mostly we are gonna choose everything from either 4 to 5 players, and so again the pros will be excluded. And the final rule is, we can't really choose an absurd amount of skills for our player, as he is still a human, and so we are going to max it at 3. And so with that, let's jump to the video. And of course, shout out to Ahmed Omran who suggested this idea. First, let's start with the playing style in general. Now I said that the Metavision/Perfect Positioning will be the best. However, let's get specific. Let's talk about the best player at this. So the first answer that comes to mind is Isigi. However, I'm actually going to go with another player. You see, Isigi became this menacing and dominated this style after acquiring Metavision. However, there is another player who is still not using Metavision consciously and is still on Isigi's level. I'm talking about Rin Itoshi, and I can't really imagine when he awakens his Metavision what kind of a monster he would be. But that's beside the point. For the playing style, we are going to go with Rin Itoshi. Next, for physicality. Now, I've actually given physicality a lot of thought than you would think. You see, we could choose Kunigami and call it a day, he is the most powerful player. However, in the Ubers game we clearly saw that RIOT completely locked him out with just having better reach, and so his physicality and his dominance in dueling really did not serve him well. Instead, I was thinking that when talking about physicality, I think speed remains the best. And here's the thing, we could really choose Chigiri for speed. However, as I said in my opening statement, Chigiri's speed requires a special muscle formation, which makes the player more prone to injury, and so I really can't go with him. The next option I had in mind was Kaiser or Yuki. Both are really fast and both can really turn in tight places. Then I remembered another player who is better than Kaiser when it comes to speed. Hell, he is even rivaling Chigiri. And here's the kicker, he still is strong and an OP character. I'm talking about Zantetsu. And so for physicality, I'm throwing a curveball and I'm saying that Zantetsu will be the best. He is the fastest player without requiring any special muscle formation, as well as presenting an above average muscle mass. And we can't really forget about his height. And so I think he makes the best choice. In the show he is held by his stupidity, but that's not a problem for us here. Next for mentality, this one is actually easy, we have 3 characters to choose from. First are the 2 players that have been praised by the 2 best pros, Noah and Snuffy. I'm talking about Baro and Iseki, and then we have Sai as well. And honestly, I think Iseki is smarter than both, and so for mentality, I'm going with him. Maybe you could choose Baro since Noah said he is the best when it comes to being a pure striker, but I think Iseki is better overall. And also, I don't think Iseki have any personal issues like Baro. But anyways, for mentality, I'm going with Iseki. Next for ego. Now we went with Iseki for mentality, I'm going with Baro for ego. I've made a specific video about the top egoist in BLUELOCK and Baro beat even the pros, and so that's an easy choice for us. Next for field IQ. Now I've said in mentality that I think Iseki is a bit smarter than Sai and Baro, and so he makes an easy choice here. However, I think there are 2 players that rival him when it comes to being a smartass. The first is Ren. However, I don't know, he seems too fixated on Iseki and that's definitely not good. And the second is actually Hiyori. And here I would say you really could go with either. I think I'm leaning towards Iseki because he's a bit healthier than Hiyori, but I would definitely give it to Hiyori, no problem. Next for vision. At first I was gonna choose Kaiser because he has both Metavision and Predator eyes. However, after seeing Baro plays and we witnessed him present 2 different styles of Predator eyes, it seems that Kaiser doesn't use it to its fullest potential. And that's also true when it comes to Metavision. I feel like Sai, Hiyori and Iseki use it a bit better than Kaiser. Sometimes I think Kaiser is tunnel vision, and that's definitely counterintuitive to Metavision. I think there is a character that is employing 2 eye types in one. Metavision in addition to this new passing ability. Of course I'm talking about Charles Cavalier. However, for a striker, a passing ocular ability seems weak to me. And so there is a player that actually presented the potential to reach this. However, for a striker, I'm talking about Rin Itoshi. Now, he presented seeds for Metavision and also seeds for the Predator eyes. He used both unconsciously. And so when he awakens them, I'm definitely going with Rin. However, for now, I think I'm going with Iseki's Metavision as it seems the best so far. Next for the shooting, I think it's pretty obvious, the Kaiser Impact, it's unrivaled, it beats even the pros, so let's just move on. For seriousness, at first I was thinking Sai, but then I thought of Baro. However, sometimes Baro goes into madness and so I don't know about calling him that serious, and so the obvious choice remains Sai. However, with that we are done with the criteria and now it's time for the set of skills. Now, since we went with Iseki for mentality, I think 2 skills work here, which are adaptability and the protagonist feeling. With these 2 skills alone, you can pretty much control everyone, whether they be dribblers or speedsters or prodigies. We've seen Iseki really destroying everyone with these. I would think the exception would be probably uncontrollable players like Kaiser lately and of course Baro. However, the 3rd skill, I'm gonna go back to Ren, and I'm gonna choose his dribbling or his brother's dribbling. Honestly, when Ren got into the berserker state, he became insane at dribbling, and so you could really go with either. I don't think I would choose Bachira's dribbling, as it would require a lot of focus on the ball, which would limit Metavision. However, I think Sai shown us how to use Metavision with dribbling, and so I'm going with either him or his brother. With this, we are done with our first list. But before we move to your lists, guys, I'm actually curious to see what if we include the pros. What would the lazy list look like? For the playing style, it's easy, it's gonna be Snuffy. For physicality, again, easy, Prince, he has 100 in everything. For mentality, I think Noah has the best mentality in BLUELOCK. Maybe rivaled by Ego himself. However, Ego does not have the feats for it, so I'm going with Noah. For ego, I'm gonna actually surprise you guys and it's gonna be still Baro. For field IQ, it's also an easy choice, it's Snuffy, and in the same vein vision, it's Snuffy again. For shooting, Noah for his ambidexterity, and for seriousness, Noah again. I think no one is more serious than Noah. For the 3 set of skills, I'm still gonna keep adaptability and the protagonist feeling. For the 3rd skill, I was gonna choose Levy's dribbling, but to be honest, with this list you really don't need it, so I'm gonna keep it as a placeholder. But that's the lazy list for you guys, very easy to make. And with that, let's move to the viewers. First, we are going to start with Ahmed Omran's list, since he is the guy who suggested this idea. For physicality, he has Kunigami. For mentality, he has Sai. And for ego, he has Shido. I can definitely understand everyone here. However, I would still think, in physicality, why would you not choose someone fast? I get it, Kunigami is amazing at dueling, but I think speed is far better. For vision he went with Isigi, which I agree with. For field IQ he went with Hiyori, which I definitely agree with. For shooting he said Rin, he says that he likes diversity. I think Rin is top 3 when it comes to shooting. However, he definitely beats Baro when it comes to accuracy and diversity, and so I give him that. For seriousness he chose Sai, which I agree with. And now for the 3 abilities. Sai's dribbling, Chigiri speed, and Predator Eye. Okay, so for vision, even though Isigi himself would not learn Predator Eyes because it doesn't fit with his style, I think his brain can handle 2 visions no problem, and so I understand that. Now, for Chigiri speed, how can you be that fast at the same time packing that much muscle mass? It's not gonna work. That's just physics, and so I don't agree with this one. For Sai's dribbling, 100% man. And finally, for the style he chose Baro's style, which is definitely interesting. I don't know if Metavision would work for Baro's style, but I think it's such a versatile ocular ability that it might work, and who knows, Baro might pull it off. But with that we move to Kendrick Waffle's list. For physicality he has Kunigami for his physique and ambidexterity, which I already covered. I wouldn't sacrifice speed for muscle mass. For playing style he went with Rin, much like me. Then he said Bachira's dribbling, and I think that's the first skill. For vision he went with Isigi, and then he said adaptability and motivation. I think motivation would go into mentality, but adaptability would be the second skill. For experience, which I would take as seriousness maybe, he chose Sai, which again I would agree with. And then he says Nagi's flexibility, ball control, and quick problem solving. I don't know, that seems like a lot of skills. I would think Nagi's quick problem solving would fit as field IQ, so I'll give you that. Then his flexibility and ball control could be fit into one skill. And so that's the third skill. And then he said Chigiri's speed would be an insane combo. Again, I don't know with Kunigami's physique and muscle mass if you could even get to that speed, so I definitely don't agree with the last point, but overall I like it. And even though he didn't follow the rules, I still like the list a lot. Next we have Ivaro2210's list, and again he didn't follow the rules, but that's okay. Nagi's abilities, but with Shiro's creativity and Baro's hunger, Predator Eyes, and stamina. Man, that's such a deadly combo, I really like it. Shiro can shoot pretty much from any situation, and Nagi can hold the ball to shoot from any position and any pass. Add to that Baro's mentality and Predator Eyes, and you would get a striker that would score every time he gets the ball. I really like this suggestion. Then he says Nagi has so much potential, but he is held back by the lack of creativity and motivation. And so these strikers combined would be the best for him. I totally agree. I did not look at it from this position, but I think a striker like this would really be insane. I wouldn't call him the best striker though. I think we need to look a bit deeper to even reach that conclusion. But let's move to the next list, which is by Lemur. And he includes the pros, which is okay. So he says Noah's physicality. Noah seems to have a well-rounded physicality, which I definitely would agree with. Then he says Isigi and Baro's mentality and ego. 100% man. I would just say if you are including the pros, I would say Noah has the best mentality. But then again, he said Baro has the best in the U20 category, so that's okay. Then he says Rin's vision, which I would assume if he awakens Metavision and Predator Eyes, he becomes number 1 when it comes to vision, so yeah. Then he says Sai's field IQ. Now, we haven't really seen it as much we have seen Isigi and Hiyori. However, I think the show is hinting at that potential. Next he says Kaiser's shooting and Sai's seriousness, which I definitely agree with. Then he says Sai's technicality, Isigi's adaptability, and Nagi's ball control and quick problem solving. I actually think Nagi's quick problem solving and ball control would work wonders with this build, and so I definitely give you that, and I love this list. Next we have a list by Marcelo, and he says physicality is going with Chris Prince, 100% man. Mentality is going with Noah, again 100%. For ego he says the easiest pick would be Isigi, and I would disagree. I think Baro right now has a bigger ego, but Isigi definitely has an insane ego as well. For vision he's going with Charles. I think he too noticed that. And actually we've seen that Isigi is saying that Charles is making plays that even surpass him and Hiyori, and so he definitely is there when it comes to vision. And he says that without his contrarian mindset he would be so OP. I think maybe by the end of this game we would see Charles shed that weakness, and we would see him be the impossible player that he is. For field IQ he says it's easily Snuffy, totally man, 100%. For shooting, the Kaiser impacts. For seriousness, he's picking an unexpected one, which is ego. Why is it unexpected? I think he's only beaten by Noah. And for the 3 ability, he's going with Lavinia's dribbling, the Kaiser impact, which I think he already mentioned, but finally no one knows ambidexterity, and to that I would say this. Imagine the Kaiser impact with ambidexterity. Now that's a deadly combo. You could shoot the fastest, most powerful shots with both legs. Man, that's OP. Overall, the list is really good, and I really like the Charles analysis. But moving on to the last list, which is by Anwar. And he actually presented just few points, so bear with me. For shooting he says Baro, for dribbling he says Sai, for vision Isagi, and for speed Chigiri, which I would assume Physicality. I mean, sure, I would see Chigiri with Baro's shooting, because Baro's shooting is born out of his repetition, and so I definitely see Chigiri with Baro's mindset having the same shot. With Sai's dribbling. Now imagine this, Chigiri's speed with Sai's dribbling. Now that's an OP combo. But this brings us to the end of the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one, and until next time, thank you for watching.